starting off with the Saints. We got a couple of games with Drew Brees and Alvin Kamara being back. You're going to look at where the ball has gone in those games to get us set for this game with the Panthers on Sunday.
Yeah, so the Saints are tied with one other team for the highest implied total on the main slate. So I think they warrant a pretty, a deep discussion, especially with some of those familiar Saints back in recent weeks with Drew Brees and Alvin Kamara. They've had Brees back for 3 weeks, Kamara back for 2. So I'm actually just going to dig into the 2-game sample because, look, we usually want a larger sample, but this is the most relevant sample. And, these two players are pretty important. On the full season, Brees he's actually had like 2 dreadful games in terms of passing net expected points, but 3 dominant ones. Over the past 2, his target shares have been 32% for Michael Thomas, 25% for Alvin Kamara, 15% for Jared Cook, 9% for Ted Ginn, 6% for Latavius Murray, and 4% for Tre'quon Smith. So Thomas is fine, more than fine at $9,200. It's a heavy price, but the Panthers are 4th in target success rate allowed to receivers. James Bradbury's back, but when it comes to Michael Thomas, it kind of doesn't matter. Jared Cook has a really fine role for a tight end. He's more than fine with such a high total. But I'm trying to dig into like the tertiary pieces, I guess actually here, probably that quaternary at this point. But
yes,
because it'd be Thomas,
Kamara, depends where you put
Cook.
Brees. Oh, okay, cool.
I'm talking
Cook. Yeah.
So yeah, quaternary at best here, but like Ted Ginn, Tre'quon Smith, Latavius Murray. Smith's outsnapped Ginn in each game. It's been about 70% to 60% in snap rates in each. So both are actually fine. Smith has run one more route than Ted Ginn, so it's kind of a coin flip there, but the volume has followed Ted Ginn. But I'm actually intrigued by Latavius Murray at 5,400 against the NFL's worst adjusted rush defense based on number fires metrics. Murray has 46% of the running back carries between he and Kamara in these 2 games. The total's high. They're 8.5-point favorites. So I kind of like Murray a decent bit if I'm stacking up this game at the very least. So I guess the best way to phrase this is how much interest do you have in the Saints outside of Michael Thomas?
So I have a lot of interest in Alvin Kamara, and I think that he is like a top-tier running back play this week. I really like him a lot. If you look back, the biggest question we had about Kamara was what the touch distribution would look like when they were in a positive script. We knew in a neutral or negative script it'd be an Alvin Kamara game, but with them seemingly wanting to preserve Kamara, it seemed like they could have cut into his snap rate when they were ahead. And last week they won, 34-17, played pretty well there and won that game pretty easily. Kamara's snap rate was still 61%. But he had 13 carries and 10 targets. That is 33 adjusted opportunities, carries plus 2x targets. And if you were to guarantee me 13 carries and 10 targets against this Panthers team, he'd be a lock for cash games. I think that because we can't guarantee that he gets those 10 targets again, it's a little bit harder to lock him in for cash games. But I think he is one of the better tournament plays at running back on the board. If I'm prioritizing on this team, I would actually prioritize Kamara over Michael Thomas. I think that Thomas is a very good option in 92, but I'd rather spend in the mid-range at wide receiver, and I want to spend up at running back. So I would go Kamara. I think Kamara is the best option on this team. As far as Latavius goes, he's fine. 41% snap rate last week, 10 carries, 3 targets. We know that he can convert on that volume, which is very valuable, and a 2-touchdown day is within his range of outcomes. So he's fine, but if he's not in my player pool, I'm not going to feel that bad about it. As far as the other guys go, I think that I would feel better about them if I expected the Panthers to play really well offensively. Marshawn Lattimore missed practice again Wednesday, which increases the odds that happens, but they're not a good offense, and that's scary. I can stack it, I can run it back with DJ Moore and Greg Olsen or Christian McCaffrey, but I don't feel great about them keeping things close, which lowers my interest in Tre'quon Smith and Ted Ginn. I think that Jared Cook is still an option at 6,000, but I'd rather find the 100 to get to Zach Ertz or 200 for Darren Waller, so he's not a priority. So I think the 2 guys who are priorities here are Kamara and Thomas, and I'd rank Kamara higher on that list.